So we're finally here. After these very long weeks of sitting through filler, idiotic characters, horrible action, gratuitous violence, and some of the worst dialogue of all time, we have made it into the finale. So without further ado, let's just get into it. We start off with the boys mourning Frenchie and burying him. Huey reads his will, which is just filled with butthole jokes for some reason. I mean, they can't even treat his death seriously. And we get confirmation of Kimiko's new power by this ground shaking thing. We then see Ryan, who has been missing for practically the whole season, and finally shows up to call Homelander a poopy head so that he leaves. We then see Huey and MM talking, which gives the hope that Kimiko won't ever talk again. The show pretends Kimiko doesn't have Soldier Boy's power, but come on, it's pretty damn obvious. We get more BS with the Gen V kids, where Starlight keeps doing her best to make Gen V feel even more useless than it already was. I mean, they literally showed up just to downplay Marie's power, do nothing, and then they just get told to leave. Literally, Starlight just says, nah, you guys just should go to Canada and save people or something. And then they leave! They're never shown again. It's... wow, what a money sink. Gen V was an actual money laundering operation, and you cannot convince me otherwise. We get some hints of Ashley trying to betray Homelander. Sage rage baits Kimiko into shooting her with the Chernobyl beam, which takes away her powers and makes her reveal what we've known since season 4.
I'm fucking stupid like you guys.
Which, I mean, if you've been paying attention to the story of this whole season and season 4 to a certain extent so far, you would know her statement right here is not exactly a surprise. Which, side note, I want to get into. After she gets hit by this and gets depowered and becomes, like she mentions, stupid, I hate her delivery of every single line she gives after this. It comes off to me as millennial acting. I know that's a bit of a dubious term, and you probably don't understand what it means, but I understand what that means, and that's all that matters, really. The boys agree to storm the White House, and we get to see Homelander finally tell the Deep what we've been wanting to say to him the whole time, which is that he's a worthless moron who debases himself to get an ounce of approval from him, which obviously doesn't matter. Homelander then does a Wesker reference.
I want the wheat separated from the chaff.
Which, by the way, if that line itself was written by maybe somebody on the writing team as a purposeful Easter egg to the fact that a lot of people would like to see Anthony Starr as Wesker, and they did that as an intentional reference, if that is the case, whoever did that, if somehow, someway you managed to find this video, you are absolutely goated, and thank you so much for that. I hope you didn't write the rest of the shit that is this show. The broadcast for Homelander starts and he spews all his usual BS. The boys infiltrate the tunnels underneath the White House, which for some reason they didn't expect to be an obvious trap. I mean, come on. Is stupidity the most consistent thing throughout all of this show? They obviously get trapped and Ashley has to save them because we all love good writing here. Starlight takes the Deep away for some reason, and Huey does an amazing Butcher impression to draw away Allfather.
Oi! This shot is diabolical.
Then Starlight for some reason tries to sway the Deep, which, listen, I know you're a hero and a good person and all of that, but the Deep hasn't done a good thing his whole damn life. He raped you, and you're still doing all of this? Anyways, MM kills Allfather in a very unceremonious way, but an actually good idea. The ball gag made of titanium that was teased before was a nice joke, but I'm glad it got to see some use in this way. Good job, writers. Homelander goes off script until Butcher and Kimiko show up. We get an actually good fight scene between them, and then we get to see the Deep finally die. After 5 seasons of wasting time, we can finally put a rest to this useless, annoying character. Some memes were funny, but he was getting overplayed way too much. We keep going with what is probably the best fight scene in the show, only second to that Herogasm fight. Mr. Plot Device shows up to help, and then Kimiko has this little moment of self-discovery with Ghost Frenchie that basically just tells her, oh, you are the strongest monk. And finally depowers Homelander. We get this pretty funny scene of Homelander looking like an idiot, and we finally see Homelander cry and look like a bitch when he's about to die. He even claims he would suck Butcher's dick if it would allow him to live, which obviously doesn't work. We then get what seems to be a perfectly good ending. I mean, Ryan just tells Butcher to fuck off, just so he can show up in a spin-off, no doubt. But everything is well until we see that Terror died, which triggers something in Butcher, so he takes the virus and storms off. Huey follows him to Vought Tower, where he reveals he wants to release the virus and kill all Supes, which is obviously extremely dangerous, and there's a chance it might kill all of humanity, so Huey has to stop him. In which we get another glimpse of Butcher's human side as he is bleeding out from the gunshot Huey dealt, and his final goodbye to Huey is pretty heartfelt. If I'm being honest, it's the second time this season the show has actually made me feel something. Which, you know, it could have been at least 3 times with Frenchie's death, but that's a whole debacle in and of itself. We get another morning scene where we see the whole team at Butcher's grave, which I want to take this little moment to pin my thoughts on this whole, like, ending scene with Butcher, and maybe the finale as a whole. I have a feeling that, specifically when it comes to Butcher's death, the writers felt like they just had to do it. They had to kill Butcher in some way because, you know, it's what makes sense. It's what the story and the themes have been leading up to. But they didn't know how to properly write an actual outcome that would lead to that. So they basically just... The only way I can rationalize this is if this is Butcher killing himself, pretty much. You know, he wants to have a fresh start with Ryan. Ryan rejects him, and then he goes to the only last shred of happiness I guess he can get out of life, which is Terror, who has passed away. So in my head, the only way I can explain this is he just wanted to kill himself. He wanted to stop living, but he didn't have the balls to do it himself. So he basically put Huey in a position where he would be forced to kill him. Because any other explanation of this does not make any sense to me whatsoever. But yeah, we then get the real ending. Gets his family back. Kimiko gets the life she wanted, except for Frenchie, obviously. And Huey gets back to how his life was back before everything started. And by everything, I mean the show. Except Starlight is pregnant now, and his baby's name is Robin, his ex-girlfriend that died. I mean, I'm not one to judge, but that's pretty weird. We get a collage of the people that worked on the show, and then it all ends. To be completely honest with you guys, I didn't hate this episode. Now, let me be clear. Does this mean it was perfect? Hell no. Does this mean it was even great? Nah. Honestly, it wasn't even a good finale. It's just, like, I guess in my mind, I was so, like, expecting the worst thing ever, you know, Game of Thrones, Stranger Things Season 5 level, that when we actually got this episode and it turned out to be alright, in my head I processed it a little differently. I have seen quite a lot of hate for this episode recently, but, you know, that's neither here nor there. The whole point here is that it could have really been worse. We could have gotten the type of ending where Homelander survives and we just get more spin-off bait. Now, don't get me wrong, we already got quite a bit of spin-off bait this whole season, but I do like that at least when it comes to Homelander, that whole arc got closed. And to be honest, for most of the characters, their arcs got finished. I don't see returning in anything unless they just want to straight up spit and piss on his character, which wouldn't surprise me at all knowing these goddamn writers. Same with Kimiko, and to a certain extent Huey. I definitely do see Huey returning in some sort of way, but hopefully not in a major role. To me, this episode might be the best episode of this season, which, I mean, it is not a high bar to cross. Not even. It's all the way down in hell with Butcher. But it's between this one and the first one, honestly. The whole A train just carried that thing so hard, but I find myself in a very particular situation where I have so much to say about this show, especially this season and these episodes. I have so much to complain about. Like, for example, why the hell did Starlight take Deep to the ocean instead of, I don't know, a power plant? If you're planning on killing this dude, why would you bring him to where he is the strongest? The only place where his ability could possibly come into play, instead of bringing him, I don't know, somewhere with a lot of electricity. These types of things, it goes back to this argument and this idea I have in my head when it comes to the writing on the show and the whole direction it took, where things are not done with the idea of revealing character motivations or revealing story purposes. I swear to you, they write the gore before they write the story. And that to me is the stupidest thing of all time, but it just might be the truth. I'm not here trying to say that, oh, in these later seasons the boys became so radical and so gory. No, because obviously since the start, we got A-Train running through Robin. That has always been a thing. But at least when it came to season 1, that violence, that gore was used with a purpose. It was used to try to reveal something. In that case, it was to reveal how fucked up the universe is. How this version of the Flash would just run through a person and it would be treated as nothing, as it's just, oh, an accident that happens every day. What does the Deep getting impaled, presumably through his ass, and getting a tentacle out his mouth reveal? What does that whole scene at the beginning of season 3, that guy blowing the other guy's dick hole apart? What does that reveal about the world and the show? Nothing. It serves no purpose. All it is there for is to create a popular clip so you can advertise your shitty shock value show. And this is just another example of it that we get in the final season. They knew they wanted the sea creatures to kill the Deep, but they didn't know how to do it. So they just make Starlight the dumbest person alive and bringing him to the only place that could possibly make her lose that fight. It is ridiculous. Another example of horrible writing. And it genuinely just, it boggles my mind how this even got through the writing stages, or however you call it, the storyboarding, whatever it is. It is insane to me. There's also this whole thing with Kimiko getting Soldier Boy's power. I mean, already, I think, maybe not me, but everybody else has criticized how Soldier Boy this season is literally just treated like an ad for Bot Rising. It's just treated like a plot device to make you care about the possible past and retcon past and actually watch their next show so you can make them more money, which, usual capitalist obsessed Amazon. But the fact that the only way, or at least when it comes to these writers, the only possible way they can come up in their heads to kill Homelander is by obviously taking away his powers, and you already have a character that can do that, but you don't want to risk changing what you've established already, or maybe you're just too lazy, or hell, knowing Amazon and how cheap they are, they probably ran out of budget and couldn't get Jensen Ackles for another episode, so they just take that character's ability, press copy paste, and then just put it onto Kimiko. It is beyond stupid. It is so stupid. The more you think about it, the more your brain just decays from the idea of this show having good writing. The final, I guess, nail in the coffin, or not really nail in the coffin, this shit has been dead for years now, but the final point I want to touch on is how Ryan, he is not a character, or at least they don't treat him like a character. He is just there this season. He is there at the beginning so that his stepdad figure can manipulate him and try to shape him into a weapon, and then his real dad can actually just abuse and beat the snot out of him so that he can just disappear. He does nothing. He doesn't even appear. Gets mentioned maybe once or twice when they're making fun of Butcher for being a horrible father figure, and then shows up at the end because they needed someone for the fight, I guess. Even then, right after he finishes fighting, he loses his powers. So you know damn well he's never showing up ever again because he has absolutely zero reason to exist in this universe. What are they thinking? How do they write this? They're probably just using ChatGPT, to be honest, but come on! It's honestly, when characters get done this dirty, is when I start to think about how some actors feel about the way their characters get written. But in situations like this, I think of, what if I was in I don't know his name, but whoever acts as Ryan, how would you feel if you get set up as this big important playmaker in the story and a really important piece of the chessboard, just to get written off and basically treated like this, as just a plot device? Again, there's a chance he really just doesn't care. He just got his bag, got out of there, doesn't really care for the show. But in my case, I know I would be a bit pissed. At least when it comes to Karl Urban, we know how he feels. At least we have an idea of how he feels, since he has been making a bit of fun out of the situation. Those likes I mentioned in the last video, and the comment he dropped recently, which is hilarious. But it really is sad when you think about it, because everybody in this show is acting their asses off, giving insane performances. I mean, even the Deep is getting pretty good acting scenes, but it's just not enough to counter the horrible writing on display throughout the last few seasons of this show. The first season of The Boys was something really special. The second season was a bit worse, but I personally really liked it. The third season was when I started to get frustrated with these characters and their arcs, but even then, Soldier Boy was carrying my enjoyment hard. The fourth season was when I was getting worried about where it was going. We had pointless scenes constantly, and the meaningless violence was getting boring as fuck. But the ending scene still gave me hope that this show would get back on track. Sure, there were bad parts, like the show just completely laughing at sexual assault when it came to men, but I had a tiny bit of hope. Then this season solidified to me the idea that nowadays nothing is sacred. Everything will be marketed, exploited, and squeezed for every dime possible. We will forego good writing and fulfilling character arcs in favor of setting up spin-offs and expanding the universe, because the machine will always be hungry for more damn money. I am glad this finale wasn't all that horrible, but it doesn't save the idea of this show or what it could have been. Just another piece of media with something to say that ended up conforming to tropes and just being easy to digest food for people who need comfort shows. It truly is a shame. But yeah, that's really not all I have to say, because like I said before, I could go on about this for hours, but it's all I can stomach saying right now. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, if you did watch it all the way through the end, and I hope all of you have amazing days, and if you have issues, I hope they get better. But yeah, love you guys.